Thank you.
Mayor and City Council. Appreciate you guys having me back again. As you may be familiar, we worked with each other on getting the pines thinned out at Goose Pond Island there. That's been successfully completed. I think everybody's been well satisfied with the job we did, including TVA, who we crossed on a couple of occasions. And I emailed Josh about a month ago. I guess he and I began some dialogue about the follow-up treatments to those areas. One of the things that we discussed was a QVM, a quality vegetative management. I'm going to try not to get too technical, but basically that's spraying over the top of the pine trees in the middle of their rotation. It was originally researched by Mississippi State University in an effort to increase the return on investment from pine timber. While they were doing the research, the wildlife biologist at Mississippi State would drive by the research plots and ask them what they were doing, because it was very beneficial to all forms of wildlife. And this particular chemical that we have that we would normally prescribe for this case is really beneficial to control plants that compete with the pines and yet promote plants that are beneficial to most forms of wildlife, legumes, forbs, all that kind of stuff. Without getting too technical, it's very beneficial. One of the biggest issues that we were concerned about when I approached Josh, because our spray season normally goes from August to September, and I knew that after we had thinned out there, we had quite a bit of privet, Chinese privet. Some of you guys may be familiar with it. It's an invasive species. And so to prevent further encroachment on the pine stands, that was really the driving force behind our recommending of the QVM, the mid-rotation herbicide, was to recommend that it be sprayed to limit the amount of privet that spreads in those particular areas, plus those other beneficial side benefits of the application. Now, we have a colored map, but I noticed I can provide that. I can send those individually to you, but I also have forwarded an email to Josh, and he can forward those to you, of the areas that we're recommending treatment. Basically, it's the pine areas that were thinned. If you recall, in our harvest plan, we also clear-cut a few little patches that that were severely understocked, and we're going to recommend that you treat those areas as well. And so we feel like after you treat it, if you would follow up with a prescribed burn perhaps next year, and then continue that on a biannual basis, you would maximize the aesthetic appeal of the area, but also improve wildlife habitat for all forms of wildlife, as well as reduce the amount of privet that you'll have to deal with in the future. This particular practice, last year, the contractor that we used was Red River, and they charged our clients $72.79 per acre. We're ballpark estimating about 220 acres at Goose Pond that need to be treated, so that would bring the total to around 16,000. And in this particular case, we're not the contractor, the vendor. We would actually be an agent of the city of Scottsboro. We would represent you guys, prepare the contracts, go out and inspect it to make sure that they completed the treatment and all that kind of stuff. We normally fly our drone to see the vegetation to make sure that all the areas were treated. This would occur, if approved, it would occur sometime within the next 2 months. It's basically treatment of the area that was thinned. And I also included an article on the practice itself, so you would have that for your background information. Are there any questions?
Any questions? I know we met earlier, and we'll be looking at approving. Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 2, discuss the zoning changes. There are some questions about a couple of these that need to be addressed before we move further with these. So we're going to go ahead and move these to the next work session on August 2nd. Number 3, discuss the allocation for the 4th of July fireworks at Goose Pond. I guess I could cover this. I know everyone knows that the city and Goose Pond share the cost each year on this. Normally this is taken care of before the fireworks, but I guess we just got the bill recently. So the cost would be, for the city, would be $4,000, and this would come out of our tourism grant fund. So anyone have any questions on that? Hearing none, we'll move that to next week's meeting also. Number 4, discuss the budget amendment for solid waste department. Mr. Level.
I might need to do a copy of a dirt compactor we had out there. I thought we could wait till budget time to discuss this, but I've had two different companies out there to try to give me a price on fixing it, to no avail. I don't know if the parts are not available. Tractor and Equipment came out and looked at it. We sent off the alternator to another place on the mountain. But anyway, he said for the cost of the parts, probably wasn't worth trying to fix it. You've got some pictures of it. It's a 1997 model. And just to be honest with you, I think the extent of its life is done. We have to have this piece of equipment, whether we want to rent one for a while, we discussed that, or the one that I've attached. The one that I've attached is actually a used one. It's quite a bit cheaper than a new one, but I don't have very many hours on it. So that's, to me, that's the best way to go, but either way you so choose, suits me fine. But we have to have this piece of equipment. It's what we build our roads with, on top of the garbage, get our trucks back in there to get them dumped. We use it on the regular roads too, but this is what builds our roads on top of the garbage. And without the compaction, of course, those things just sink, so it's used regularly. I took pictures and showed you the model and of the one that we've got now.
No one has any questions. I was going to talk about this a little bit. Looking at the rental rate, of course, the rental rate seems like it'd be too much to do, just to be honest. That kind of rental rate, you could own it in 30 months. So if we were going to interested in moving forward with this, I would suggest we do a purchase. The piece of equipment, from what I've researched, you said it's a 97. I think we actually bought it in 99, though.
That's correct.
It was a couple years old. And seemed to be, it lived out its years well with us.
That's correct.
Now, this piece that you have in here, this was a new one, though. Is it that just for the rental rate?
It's actually a used one. It's got, there's 115 hours on it. It's out of the rental fleet.
Okay.
But it saved, it's about $25,000 drop by going that route. So that's why I asked him to price that one.
Okay. There were some questions, Mayor. Do we have another piece of equipment like this in a different department?
I understand there's one, yes.
Far as that goes, Wayne, do y'all have a compactor?
We have a sheet foot called Dynapack
Yes.
for that, sure.
Can it be used at the landfill?
Probably, I don't know. I don't remember what size it is. What size is it?
I don't know what off the top of my head, I don't know, but it's pretty good size.
The one that's out there is 84 inch, but I mean, a sheep's foot's a sheep's foot. The
Okay.
weight helps a lot
Yeah.
building those roads, but if we've got one,
Okay. Well, then could y'all two get together this week, and then we could always put this on the next work session if some reason that doesn't work out. All right. Thank you.
On this one that we've got now, would it have any value to sell it, or is it pretty much
I think
scrap?
I think there'll be a value for somebody for parts. Just have to put on drug deals and it's going to be this.
Mr. Moore, now, it's a piece of equipment y'all don't use anymore.
But we use it as we need it, it's something we don't use all the time.
Okay.
We use it, like Stacy uses it. But
Okay.
We do use it for working on something.
Now, you'll use it daily, though. Yes. Okay. All right. Like I say, if nobody else has any questions, we'll let them have this week to discuss that, and we'll move forward after that. Thank you. Number 5, discuss the budget amendment for street department. Mr. Moore?
Mr. President, we have a 05 International flatbed dump truck that's got the motor that was bad in it. The Congo has got some bids and the garage, I mean, it's low bidder, and
And this is one of your flatbed dump trucks?
Yes, sir. That's what we pull our small equipment with.
Yes.
And do a lot of hauling.
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Moore on this piece of equipment? Hearing none, we'll move that to next week's meeting. Thank you. Number 6, discuss the budget amendment for the cemetery department. Mayor?
Yeah, Mr. Bell informed us this week that the tractor at the cemetery that they use has got a cracked block. And in discussions, we were looking at going ahead and replacing it at this point instead of waiting. And I think you've got in your package some information that Mr. Led will work with Mr. Bell today to get. And you're looking at $32,076.92 to replace that tractor. This is the one that they use to haul their dirt trailer as well as fill in and do all the work out at the cemetery.
Now, would this tractor have to be bid out, though?
I think this is off Sourcewell, is that correct, Mr. Ledwell? So it's
Okay.
already, yeah.
Anyone else have any questions on the tractor? We'll move that to next week's meeting. Number 7, discuss the Heritage Center additional invoices. Mayor, can you kind of go over this a little bit, I guess? Far as, or I guess I could explain, far as the Heritage Center, they come to us each week or each time to have them approved, but their bond money is empty now. So, but they still have additional invoices. Mr. Kimmer, you want to explain?
As you said, you were exactly right. The city, when the renovations for the Heritage Center were approved, limited the expenditures to a certain amount of money that the city would spend, and anything above that amount would be the responsibility of that board to raise those funds. Every penny of the city's allocation has now been spent. There are a couple of 3 minor bills that are outstanding, which the Heritage Center Board has the money to pay. However, the contract is between the city and the contractors, not between that board and the contractors. So you have 2 choices. You can basically give your stamp of approval at some future meeting when they're here to say everything's been done and done correctly. Or, since they're going to be spending their money and not a cent of city money, you can go ahead and give that board the right to approve their own work, which would be the simplest way to do it.
So we could authorize the board to pay all additional invoices,
Yes.
basically. I would think that would be the best way to move forward. If no one else has any comments or not, we could put that on next week's meeting to do. Number 8, amending ordinance 614 prohibiting trucks on certain streets. Mayor?
We continue to have issues with trucks in certain areas, and talked to Chief Latimer the other day. There is not a sign on South Houston Street off of Parks Avenue. So if some of the trucks are coming down Parks and they turn on South Houston, there's not a sign there prohibiting them from going down South Houston. Then they end up over on King Street and over on Garden Drive. So the recommendation is to amend the ordinance to include South Houston Street and allow us to put up another sign. Chief Latimer, is there anything else? And they are enforcing that and writing tickets.
So you would put them both ways off South Houston from Parks?
We could, depending
I
on
would-
what
I
y'all
would
want to do,
think so.
but particularly towards the retcom.
Yes.
Choice, but the main problem is the left turn in front of the Redcon.
Okay.
This is the issue.
So we can look and see if you wanted to put one at Willow Street or if you wanted to just put it going each direction, but for sure in front of the retcom.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions on that?
I had a complaint about them turning to the right on Houston Street at Park. I think we need one there as well.
Okay. So we could do it both ways then? Okay.
You would include all of South Houston from Willow to King Street? essentially?
Yep.
So that would involve posting
3
a sign
signs.
at Willow and also at Parks.
Uh-huh.
So, okay.
Because if you're going to say South Houston, I guess we should cover all of South Houston Street. And the only way to do that would be go all the way to Willow.
Yep, correct.
Anyone else have any questions on that? Hearing none, we'll move that to next week's meeting. Number 9, discuss the riprap shoreline protection at the Jackson County Council on Aging, Scottsboro Senior Center. Mayor?
Okay, back in, and Mr. Little helped me, was it 2006? The city got a permit from TVA to do shoreline protection with riprap, some landscaping and irrigation at the Council on Aging in Scottsboro Senior Center. Some of that was started. I think some of the landscaping and I guess a line for irrigation was installed, but the riprap was never installed. In the last several years, we've lost approximately 10 feet of shoreline. And in talking with Mr. Nance, Chairman of the County Commission, we got Josh and Wayne to go out and look at it, come back with a price, and this price of $9,114 for materials would be split with the county.
Okay.
So they would split the total cost with us. Now, this cost does not include in-kind with hauling and some of the work that would have to be done to install it, and maybe even some dirt to backfill. But it would be split with the county.
Okay. Well, that was going to be my first question. So thank you. Anyone else have any questions on that?
This is something that really needs done. It's a little bit is of shoreline we're losing every year. Pretty soon it'll be at the building if we don't do this.
Yeah, there's been significant loss out there in the last couple of years in particular. But,
So we're looking at $4,557.
no, 9.
We're going to split that though, right?
Oh, yes, split that.
So
Yeah,
our
I
cost
would say
would-
10,000 split because we don't have the,
Okay.
I don't know what the hauling in-kind services with the county. So,
So if we set up to 5,000, would cover the city's part.
yep.
Anyone else have any questions on that? If not, we'll move that to next week's meeting also. That'll conclude the meeting. No delegation, so we'll move straight to reports. Mayor?
Mr. Sandlin, J.B. Sandlin is with us tonight. He is the new airport director, interim airport director, and good to have you with us tonight. Remind everybody about the meet and greet tomorrow afternoon from 4 to 8 for Mr. Wood at the Retcom. And the groundbreaking Thursday at 10 o'clock for Shops of Scottsboro out at the site. We're excited about that. So that's all I've got tonight.
All right, thank you. Mr. Stewart?
I really don't have anything, but thank you all for coming tonight.
Thank you. Mr. Ashburn?
I don't have anything. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Y'all remember Miss Tolliver? She had surgery, and it's getting around her a little slow right now. So y'all remember her tonight in your prayers. Also, real excited about the paving. Real excited about the meetings y'all are having again on paving and moving forward with the next project.
Well, thank y'all, the council, for doing what you're doing to fund this. It's significant.
Thank you. With that, y'all have a good evening. We're adjourned.